Number 14, on the theater, on the one-sided view towards the theater, and on one-sidedness in general. A letter to Count A.P. Tolstoy. Gogol's references, perhaps, to the Hegelian notion of Einseitigkeit. I'll have to write that down. You are very one-sided, and it is not long since that you became one-sided. And you became one-sided because it would be impossible, given your spiritual state as it is now, for any man not to become one-sided. You are thinking only of your spiritual salvation, and not having found the road by which you were destined to attain it, you see everything in the world as temptation and hindrance to your salvation. Monks are less severe than you. Your attacks on the theater are one-sided and unjust. You reinforce yourself by what some well-known ecclesiastics bring up against the theater. But they are right and you are wrong. Rather bethink yourself whether they are really bringing up things against the theater or only against the way the theater is now presented to us. The church began to rise up against the theater in the first centuries of the universal establishment of Christianity, when the theaters alone were the refuge for a paganism everywhere proscribed as a den of scandalous bacchanalia. That is why St. John Chrysostom thundered against it so strongly, but times have changed. The earth was cleansed by the generations of European unspoiled peoples whose education was based on Christianity, and then the saints themselves were the first to begin to introduce the theater. Theaters were established in ecclesiastical academies. Our Dmitri of Rostov, justly placed among the holy fathers of our church, composed plays meant for staging. Thus, the theater is not at fault. Anything can be perverted and can be given a perverse meaning. Man is clever at this. But the matter must be considered more profoundly, as it should be, not judged by the caricature which has been made of it. The theater is by no means a trifle nor a petty thing. If you take in consideration that it can accommodate a crowd of 5,000 or 6,000 persons all at once, and that this multitude, whose members taken singly have nothing in common, can suddenly be shaken by the same shock, sob with the same tears, and laugh with the same general laughter. It is a kind of pulpit from which much good can be spoken to the world. Only separate the properly named higher theater from those capering ballets, vaudevilles, melodramas, and tawdry, splendorous spectacles which pander to depraved tastes or depraved hearts, and then you will see the theater. The theater in which high tragedy and comedy are presented must be entirely independent of all that. It is most odd to juxtapose Shakespeare with ballet dancers or with dancers in skin-tight pants. What connection is there between them? Let feet be with feet and head with head. This is understood in some parts of Europe where the theater of high dramatic presentation is separated from the others and is the only one to enjoy the support of the government. But they have understood it only as an external kind of relationship. It was proper to think seriously about supplying the best works of dramatic authors with the kind of setting that would attract the public and would open up to it that morally beneficial influence which is in all great writers. Shakespeare, Sheridan, Molière, Goethe, Schiller, Beaumarchais, even Lessing, Renard, and many other secondary writers of the last century produced nothing that would divert respect from great subjects. In them, there's not even an echo of what seethed and boiled in the fanatic writers of that time, who were occupied with political questions and spread disrespect for holy things. Now they mock hypocrisy, now blasphemy, now twisted interpretations of the law. but never what constitutes the root of human valor. On the contrary, the feeling for the good is strictly observed. On the contrary, the feeling for the good is strictly observed, even when epigrams grumble. An oft-repeated dramatic composition, that is, one of those truly classic plays in which our attention is focused upon the nature and soul of man, necessarily begins to solidify the principles of society and sensibly compels our dispositions to stability. While all those plays flooded with emptiness and lightness, beginning with vaudevilles and unthought-out dramas and ending with glittering ballets and even operas, only dissipates them, scatters them, makes society light and frivolous. Distracted by the millions of sparkling objects scattering thought in every direction, the world no longer has the strength to meet Christ directly. The divine truths of Christianity are far from it. It will be afraid of them as of a gloomy monastery, if you do not by invisible degrees prepare it for Christianity. If you do not raise it to some lofty place from which it may better see all the boundless horizon of Christianity, and may better understand the very thing which before was inaccessible to it. The theater can be of this number if it addresses itself to this purpose. We must put on stage in all their magnificence all the finest dramatic compositions of all centuries and all nations. They must be given more often as possible, repeating the same play over and over again. This can be done. All the plays can be fresh, made fresh, new, interesting for everyone, from little to great, if only you succeed in staging them as they ought to be staged. It is nonsense to think that they have aged and that the public has lost its taste for them. The public is not capricious. It goes where it is led. If the authors themselves had not regaled it with their rotten melodramas, it would not have felt a taste for them and would not have demanded them. Take the most playable plays and stage them properly, and the public will come in a mob. Molière will be a novelty to them. Shakespeare will appear more interesting than the most modern vaudevillian.